Starting second session recording at 9:33 p.m. Welcome back.
Hello, Dean, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. All right, let me try to get you back to keyboard control again, or do you still see a black screen, or do you see a Fox Pro screen?
I can see black screen.
Just black screen. Okay, so I'm still fishing around for.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing the same control that's allowed me to show you my desktop earlier.
Can't you see share screen?
I do see that, and at the moment it gave me a, oh, wait a second here. Oh, there we go.
Yes, I can see now.
Okay, great. Okay, so now, all right, we have a table full of data, and let's create a couple of indexes for this table, and you'll see in a minute why it's important. You probably already know why it's important, but the syntax is going to be index on expression tag, and then we'll say name that as your index xp. That's the syntax, and let's say as an example, I'm going to say index on last name plus first name, and we'll make the tag, we either make it name or let's call it last first. Get rid of the brackets. Okay, so that's what the command looks like. I'll do a couple of simple, or I'll do a couple of simpler expressions in just a minute. Okay, so
Okay.
now that that index has been created, that means we now have a new file called cardfile.cdx, and the records now appear in order of last name and then first name. So Edward Johnson precedes Holly Johnson, and so on and so forth. Okay.
Okay. So it physically do
No,
the indexing.
it
I
is not.
mean, it sorts
Yes, it sorts, but
sorts the record.
it doesn't move the fields around. Okay. There is a sort
Okay.
command, but
Okay.
all we've done is say create an index so that I see the records in the order that I want. For example, if you can see down at the bottom, it says this is record 30 of 31. But if I press down arrow to get to Susan Bennett, now we're on record 28 of 31 and then 10 of 31. So the physical order of the records has remained the same. What we've changed is the way in which we're viewing them. It's sort of like if you did a sort on a spreadsheet. So now that we have the records in an order that we like, okay, let's do two more indexing expressions, and let's see if you can type, because we'd like to create an index on last name and call it last name.
Last name and
Yeah, just start with the index on, if you're able to type. If you're not, I'll
okay.
give you keyboard access.
No, I can't.
Okay, let me remote control,
Uh,
give mouse keyboard
Dean,
access to,
yeah.
okay, give it a
Dean, can
second.
you please give me just 1 minute?
Certainly.
Yeah. Yes, I'm back. So let me type. Uh, I am not able to type.
Right, yes, index on.
Yeah. It's very slow.
Okay, and then our expression is going to be last name. Okay, right, and then tag. No, we're only we already have an index expression on last name plus first name. Now we just want one on
Okay.
last name.
Okay.
So you can say tag. Okay, and you can call the tag last name. Okay, and hit enter. There you go. All right, and we'll do one more for, let's do one for city. It should be easy. Okay. All right. Now, let's take a look at what we have in a graphic representation. Type modify structure, or if you prefer, just type MODI space STRU. There you go. And hit enter.
Enter.
Right. Okay. So we've got three tabs here. And the first, these are the fields that are in our table. And here's the field type and the width. If we had wanted to, we could have added decimal places for our numeric field. Yeah. All right. The indexes, which we created.
Okay.
Okay, these are the expressions. I'm honestly not sure what, well, I'd have to crack a book to remind myself what the collate is. I vaguely remember. And then we didn't add any sort of special rules for validating a record. We could, but that really makes more sense if we're doing something more complicated than what we are doing. So now you know what we've got. I'll cancel out of this. And so now let's take another look at the table. Before I do that, I just want to check the notes. Okay. Let me break away from that for just a second. I have a feeling that you're familiar with all of these constructs, but let me check. Have you worked with, let's say, for next loops? It may also be called a for and for loop or something similar. Let's say for counter equals 1 to 5. Have you worked with something like that before?
Yeah, actually, I am aware of this for the next loop.
Okay, so for example, if I put in for counter equals 1 to 5, print hello. You sort of understand what that would do, right?
Right.
Okay, and this question mark that tells FoxPro or all the D-based languages just to print the contents of this on the screen. So
Okay. So it will print hello 5 times.
right, and there it is. Okay, all right. So we know you're okay on for next loops. Let's see here. I suspect you've got to be familiar with the if and if construct.
Yes.
In other words, let's say let's
So
say
this
that
question mark is just so every time we have to put this question mark, whatever we want to print over there.
yeah, let's say t equals 5, and then we could say if t equals 6, print wrong, else
Else, right.
print right. Now, let's try to execute that. And it's hard to see, but there's the right. Okay. And then the structure of a case statement in FoxPro may be a little bit different from case statements you've worked with in other languages.
Okay.
You do an end if you have to choose between one of two courses of action. For a case statement, let's say name equals Bob, or let's say my name equals Bob. Do case copy case my name equals Sue case equals Sue, print hi Sue, case mine equals Bob, print hi Bob, and we'll have a catch-all case otherwise. In other words, anything that for which my name is not Bob and my name is Sue, we'll say print hi stranger. And then end case. All one word. I know some languages separate end and case. So, and let's do a clear the screen before that. Let's make my name equals Frank. Okay, so this should translate into hi stranger. And there it is at the top. And let's see what else was. Okay, so all right, we have not discussed a do while loop, and it's best to do that inside the table. So let's browse. Table font. I always try to work in Courier when I'm looking at tables because it's one of the few fixed width fonts that FoxPro accesses. Let's try that. Okay. So now let's set our table order back to, oh, that's right, we have our table ordered on city right now, and that's good. So let's clear the screen, and we know that if we're looking at this record, then the current city is Bloomington. So now we can say do while city equals Bloomington. Print last name. Actually, we'll shorten the last name here. Actually, we'll do it in a more compound manner. Trim. Okay, that's going to chop the trailing spaces off the first name. Plus, and we'll add a space to separate the first name from the last name. Plus, last name. Now, if I were to type undo, which I won't, we get into big trouble here. You may already know why, and you're welcome to guess, Otherwise, I'll plug in the additional command that we need. Okay. To
So it
move,
will check the city name. So
mm,
it will check the city name as Bloomington.
no,
If
it's
it is
actually something.
Bloomington,
It's something very Fox Pro specific. To move your record pointer from this record to this record, you either have to be sitting at your keyboard tapping on the mouse or the up and down arrow keys, or you have to issue a skip command. And you can skip in either direction. You can say skip, or you could say skip 3 or skip 500, or you could say skip -1 or skip -3. But if you try to execute a do while against a table, and you forget to include the skip command, it'll just keep running over and over again, and you'll actually have to go out to the Windows Task Manager to kill your session. So it's a lesson that we all learn pretty quickly, and it still happens to me every now and then after 30 years of programming. So don't feel bad if this ever happens to you. Okay, but what we think is going to happen is that we're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it just 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we think we're just going to see 4 names appear on screen, specifically Cedric Smith, Edward Johnson, Robert Lane, and Meg Winter. And there they are. Okay, so I'm
right.
glad I got to show you the do while, and I'm extra glad I got to show you the skip command, which you always want to include if you're using the do while command against a
Uh,
table.
Sorry, so what does this skip do is, I didn't get, sorry.
Okay, so every time you say skip, and let's say,
Mhm.
all right, let's say you're on the Cedric Smith record, okay? I
Mm-hmm.
can either tap my down arrow to move to the Edward Johnson record, or I can
Okay.
go into the command line and type skip, and
Okay.
now my highlighted record is Edward Johnson. And let's say that I move down a few more here to Lorna
Okay.
Washington, and I say skip -5. We would expect the record pointer to move up to Alan Reynolds.
So it
And
will
it did.
skip those many records, how many we are specifying?
It will, yeah, it will move the number of records you specify, but only relative to the controlling index. So if you have no index set at all, and you have a record with 100,
Mm-hmm.
if you have a table with 100 records, and you're currently
Mm-hmm.
on record number 50, and you say skip 10,
Mm-hmm.
then the pointer will
Mm-hmm.
move to record number 60. But
Okay.
if you have a controlling index in effect, um,
Mm-hmm.
then you could be on record 99, and you really have no way of knowing where you're going to wind up after you say skip 10. We only know that it will go to the next record and the next record and the next records and so on and so forth relative to your controlling index.
Okay.
Okay, while I'm on here, let me show you something that I was trying to articulate yesterday. We're at the bottom record here, but we're not at the end of the file. So if I say skip, you might notice down here it says record EOF/31. And what that means is you're sort of in a limbo place, which is below the Asterai record. So if I were to say skip one more time while I'm at the end of file, it'll trigger an end of file encountered error rather than trying to skip farther down. The same is true if I'm at the top of the file and I say skip -1, okay. Let me try that again here. Okay, so if I'm at the top of the file, either physically, if there's no index in control, or if I'm at the top of the file logically, and I skip -1, it will allow me to go to a place called beginning of file, or BOF. But if I try to do a skip -1 again, it'll throw an error message. So,
Okay.
all right. If and if, okay, case statements. Okay. Let's try something that's kind of similar to what you were asking about with the insert into command. Let's take this Julie Burgess record. And we're going to say...
So here I have one question.
Yes.
So you showed me the append command, and you appended some records from the some other file to this file. So I mean, when we append two files records, so is it necessary that both of the files should be the same name and same fields should be there?
Yes, yes, same structure, same field names. If you, let's say if you had a field called address1 in one file and you named the other file, or you had the other file with that same data, but it was in a field called address3, you could still execute the append from, but when you looked at the table receiving the data, your new records in the address1 field would be empty, because FoxPro won't know that you meant for address3 to go into address1.
Right. Okay. Okay. And file name also should be same. So like here we are giving this table name as card file. So that file name also should be the card file only.
No, that's not necessary.
That's not necessary.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So whatever file we will take, only
Right.
it will append the record. That's it. Okay.
Correct. Okay.
Okay.
There are variations on the append from. For example, you can append from a CSV file made in Excel, or append from a tab delimited file that maybe you created in a text editor. You have to pass an additional clause in the append from command so that FoxPro knows what you're trying to do. But it is pretty versatile. You can bring in data from other sources. Okay, so in any case, now we're on the Julie Burgess record, and let's say that we want to enter her husband into the same table, and so we know that, let's say his first name is Paul, same last name, same address and everything. So what we're going to do is scatter the information for Julie, her record, out to an array. Have you worked with arrays?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So there are two. I mentioned this last time. You can scatter into an array where each element has a number, but what we're going to do is scatter into an array where each element has a variable name that corresponds to the field. So I'm going to say scatter memvar, and I'm also going to add the word memo. And what that's going to do is, if there are any memo fields in this table, and we know there's one, okay, this is where we have
Right,
this
right.
node, then that will also be stored to memory. Okay, so now I'll try to give you a graphic representation. There's two ways to see what we created, and one is display memory like. Now that would work better if we use the other command. So I'll just say set step on, and you get your first look at the Fox Pro debugger. And this will be a little small, but let's see if we can find. Scatter memvar. That's locals, my bad. Okay, let me check one thing here. Because this may actually be what we want, but I want to check this. Our table is called card file. So let's say card file dot last name, and let's say we also want to watch m dot last name to see if it got created, and it did. Okay, good. So we've got, if we were to do it, and that's a little complicated, I was hoping to just see all the variables together, but now we know that we have this information stored in memory variables that correspond to the fields. So why don't we, let's see here, try to minimize that. Okay, that's a little small, so trust me on this. All right, we're not changing her fields per se. Table, font. Career new, bold, 16. Okay. All right, once again, these are the table fields. And so now let's show there's her record. Okay, so let's say we want to change the first name to Paul. So we're going to say m dot first name equals quotation mark, either single or double, Paul. Okay. And let's say that date add m dot date add equals, trust me on this, that expression there is the equivalent of today's date. I think there's a similar expression in Excel.
Okay.
And let's see here. Okay, and then m dot notes equals quotes this may squawk. I'm not sure. We'll find out in a second. Okay, didn't like that, so we'll say alright, print string 10. Okay, and then the field name, notes, comma, Julie, comma, Paul. Have you worked with character string manipulation functions before?
Yes.
I mean,
So
the
string
syntax may
append.
be a little different, but let's see if this
Right.
looks good. There we go. This is the record for Paul Burgess. Paul lives in Houston. So now we'll just say m notes equals string tran notes Julie Paul, and get rid of the window there. All right. So now we've changed 3 expressions, and let's see how they look. Card file dot first name is still Julie. M dot first name equals Paul. I know that's pretty small. Are you able to see that description, the difference there?
Burgess, last name.
Okay. So the table field still says Julie because we're on Julie's record in the table. Okay. But we just changed the first name to Paul in the memory variable.
Okay.
Okay. Likewise, let's see here. All right, so let's take a look at date add. And the syntax is table and then a period and then the field name to refer specifically to the field name. If I just said date add, FoxPro won't really know if I'm talking about the memory variable or the field name. So it's always good to be specific about that. In m dot date add shows the value that we created for Paul. Okay, so now we're ready to create a new record for Paul. Whoops. Shoot. You can still hear me, right?
I think, yeah, I can still hear you. I think meeting time is over, I think, I
I think
believe, right?
so. So I will tell you
Okay.
the commands you can do. One would be insert into card file from memvar, and that would create a new record, and it would take those values for Paul and populate that new record. The other one, which you probably want to do instead, is to say append blank as the first command, and then gather memvar memo. Okay, and what that'll do is it's the reverse of the scatter memvar. It's going to take your memory variables and write them out to that